if you're working somewhere and for whatever reason, they don't have any clear, policy, like phone use policy, internet use policy, you tend to kind of do whatever you want to do. And so tonight I want to talk about standards, because standards are important. Sometimes we don't really think about how our standards can impact our decision, our lives, things that we choose to give our ear to. So I'm going to start by defining standards, okay? Father, help us tonight. We need your help tonight. I need your help tonight to be able to convey this message. So a standard is a level of quality of attainment, right? A level of quality or attainment. When we talk about a standard, that's kind of what you look up to. That's what the company stands for. We don't allow mediocrity. We don't allow gossiping. We don't allow, it's a standard. Like Women of Value, we don't allow, women who are gossipers. We don't allow cat fights. We don't allow those. That's a standard. That's what we stand by. That's what we live by. Another definition is an idea or thing used as a measure, a norm, or model in comparative evaluation. So, in other words, if we're going to say you have a bachelor's degree, if we're going to say you have an associate degree, we're going to count your credits and make sure that all the credits you took actually cohere or coincide with the requirement for graduation. All right. That's important. That is key. A standard is something set up or established by an authority as a rule for the measure of quantity, weight, value, quality, whatever. So in other words, there are standards even for our body weight, right? Our BMI. If they say your BMI is too high, then you're overweight. If it's like middle, a certain number, so that's a standard. Like everybody is like industry standard. Everybody uses this. We all know this is what it is. It's known. It's unspoken, but it's known. All right. So if I'm asking you tonight, what is your standard? What I'm essentially saying is that what is the measure, the rule, the ruler, the quantity, what are you using to measure yourself? What are you using to, measure your values? How you make decisions? Like, how do you come about your decisions? What are your standards? And that is the question tonight. What are your standards? Can you comment below? Let me know if you understand what we're talking about. What are your standards? That is the topic for tonight. So your standards are based on what you adhere to, your values, right? That's what we call standard, is your values. What value system are you using? Are you utilizing? Are you living by? Your standards will impact who you choose to marry, where you choose to go to school, what you choose to study, the salary you even attract or choose to accept. Your standards will affect, every area of your life, okay? Every area of your life. But here's where it's the most crucial. Yes, your standards will show up in your relationship. And the reason that is so crucial is because if you don't know which standard you're living by, what ends up happening is that you are living any which way. Like you're literally living any which way when it comes to your standards. And if you're not able to stand according to what you know, then guess what? You're going to be living a standard that is based on what other people have told you. So if you don't know why you're choosing what you're choosing, you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, then you're living according to what other people are telling you. And living according to what other people are telling you is also going to play a role in your life. It's going to have a negative impact, no doubt. Tonight, my goal is to be able to talk to you about reconsidering whatever standard you're using. If the standard you're using is of this world, then guess what? You might miss the mark. Okay? If the standard you're using is of this world, you might miss the mark, because the things that are going on in this world, I mean, they are worrisome right now. Like, truly, there's so much happening today in today's world that if you tell yourself, I'm living according to what I know, I'm living according to what everybody is doing. In other words, I'm getting married, but I'm getting married based on what everybody thinks. Believe me when I tell you, it's not going to be beneficial. Like, your relationships cannot look like the relationships of this world. It just cannot. You know, your family cannot look like the family of this world. The way you dress cannot be like what everybody else does. Like, of course, on Instagram, you don't have to go looking for things. Things just come just because. People's pages show up. You don't have to search it. There are people that come on my feed. I'm like, I don't care about these people. I don't follow them. But they come, right? It's Instagram. It's Facebook. But what we have to be careful, what I noticed the most recently, not even recently, like it's been ongoing, but I feel like it's getting worse over time, is how much skin is being shown. So now that's not new. The fact that people are getting more and more nude, that's not new. Okay. I always wondered when I see people wearing, like, you know, those dresses or those shirts without a bra, I always wonder, like, it's not tight. So what happens if you one side of the dress just goes like this? Like, are you going to flash the world? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just too old school. Maybe I'm just way too old. I don't know. Like, I don't know. But we're talking about standards. So we can't, if I'm going to talk about standards, I can't talk about standards without talking about modesty. I can't talk about standards without talking about your character. I can't talk about standards without talking about the way you speak, the words that come out of your mouth. I cannot talk about standards and not talk about the way you portray yourself to others. My gosh. Like, there's such a moral decay right now. Such a moral decay. And I want you to know that as you're invited to this Women of Value mentorship, there's so many people I've invited. Listen, I was just telling my husband before I jumped on here, I was telling my husband, I said, from last week to this week, we have about 15 people. Listen to this. 15 people who said they were interested in Women of Value. In fact, they went and registered. Hear me when I'm saying this. 15 people since last week, maybe last Wednesday, within a week. 15 people who said, I'm interested. And they haven't come to the meeting, but they said they're interested. So part of what I try to do, we try to divide it and call the young ladies, and speak to them like, hey, I saw that you registered. Like, is there something you're looking for? Is there a way we can help you? Like, what are you looking to accomplish? Right? And a lot of the people are like, oh yeah, I don't know. I registered, but I'm busy right now. Y'all help me with this. All right. I registered, but I'm busy. First of all, your standard is clear. Like, who goes anywhere and registers and says, oh, I registered yesterday, but I'm busy today? For what? For what? Again, we're living on auto. Like, we're living on automatic. We're automated. Like, from the work I do, my background, not just as a social worker, but as a cybersecurity specialist and all those things, working government contracts. Listen, looking at my background, I'm like, you can't just be living on auto. We automate tools, we automate systems, but people are living on auto. So people have become like things. Because if you're not living on auto, you're not going to go register for an event and say, oh, I registered, but I didn't really mean to attend. Oh, I registered, but what time does it start? You registered for something you don't know what the time is. I'm making a point. I'm not here complaining about anything because y'all know I believe that who's meant for you is for you and they will come. Who's not meant for you is just going to drag you and just waste your time. So never chase after someone that God didn't give you. And after over 5 years of doing Women of Value, if I learned nothing, I learned that the loyal people that God gives you are the people that will take you far. Okay? Let me tell you something. Jesus had 12 disciples. Look at the crowd that followed Jesus. There were so many people following Jesus, but he had 12 disciples. We're not even going to talk about Judas or any of those. No, but he had 12 disciples. And the mission he came on this earth to fulfill was fulfilled in time. Today, people are dying at 33. They're dying prematurely. Okay? They're dying prematurely. Jesus had 3 years to complete his mission. He started at 30. His mother tried to get him out by 12. But he was like, woman, what am I to do with you? In the book of John chapter 2. So what am I going to do with you? Can we just wait till it's my time? And when he turned 30, he had 3 years to fulfill mission. He fulfilled it and then he gave up the ghost. He was accomplished. The key in life is purpose. And purpose, when we talk about time, I've explained to women of value over and over again. If we're going to talk about standards, let's talk about time. Because a lot of us take shortcuts because of time. That right there is a message. I'll need you to type that up because I'm going to come back to it. Many of us take shortcuts because of time. We take shortcuts because we tell ourselves, I'm getting too old. Everybody's getting married. Life is passing me by. So we take shortcuts. And what are some of the shortcuts? We get in the wrong relationships. We lower our standards, right? We tell ourselves, oh, and at least he works, right? We tell ourselves, at least he's a good worker. At least he's whatever. And then we justify our decisions knowing very well that they're not good decisions. We just know they're not good decisions, but we justify those decisions. All right. So I was telling you, let me finish that story because y'all know I can start stories and then not end it. But sometimes. So I'm looking at all these numbers and I'm like, this is great because the 15 people is not shocking because on any given week, we have about 10 to 20 people that are interested in Women of Value. It's possible if somebody shows, like 2 people will show. So it's not that they don't know what they looked at. They know, but it's like you're living an automatic life. You're living mindlessly scrolling through things and signing up mindlessly for things. Like, oh, I have a training I want to attend. You sign up for the training and forget to attend the training. That's mindless living. So that's you not prioritizing anything. And if you're saying, I want to grow, make the time and devote the time to grow. People that will reach out like, oh, I need this, I need that. You give it to them and then they block you. Or they mute your messages. They mute your messages, but when they needed you, they were available. Listen, don't live mindlessly. That's a standard you're showing. And that standard is someone that's unstable, very unstable. I need someone to talk to. Somebody talks to you, then you don't like what they said, so you mute them. And you don't like what they said because you're irritated by the truth. You're irritated by the truth. When you reach out to someone, in your mind, there has to be something that told you that person can help me. So we talk about, people need help and we need more people to do this. But what I will tell you is don't give up on whatever you're doing. If there's an assignment you're given, maybe to help young women, maybe to help children, don't give up on it. Keep doing it. Because the few that God has for you, they will show up. Don't take shortcuts. Don't get tired. Don't get overwhelmed. I'm saying that to tell you, these are some of the things I experience. I see with people all the time. Oh, I don't have time. But you signed up. I didn't come begging you. You signed up. Do you understand what I'm saying? So a lot of times we want to live on survival mode. We have an emergency. Let me find something that will help me quickly resolve my issues. But there's nothing like living, in life, living, sustaining your blessing, sustaining your miracle. And I talked about the book of 1 Kings, I believe, chapter 4, where the widow's oil, right? The oil stayed because she didn't have any more vessels to put in. She didn't have any more buckets to pour the oil in to go sell the oil. So we can sustain our blessing. Oh, that's a message. I feel it for someone. Listen, we can sustain our miracle. Our oil will continue to flow if we actually live by that standard that got us there in the first place. In other words, you pray for something, you get the thing you prayed for, and then you forget that I prayed for this, and spend no energy sustaining what you prayed for. And you forget that the thing that you have now it came by prayer. So if I prayed to graduate college, then I need prayer to make sure that I can get a job. Then I need prayer to sustain my lifestyle. Then I need prayer. Do you understand? So if you obtain something by prayer, the standard is that you maintain that thing through prayer. And I shared the story of how when the Lord told me to start Women of Value, I wasn't interested in nothing religious, nothing churchy, nothing Christian. I wasn't interested. I was living my life the way I was living my life, and that was the end of it. But I had a passion for children, women, and making sure that women live their best lives. I had a passion for it. I always did. And so when the Lord said, start this, or start something for women, actually, I was like, start something for women. Okay. I mean, I can gather them because I was known, right? But let me tell you, my personal gifts have not been, my popularity is not what's helping Women of Value. And for the longest, I didn't want to include God in what he told me to start. I refused to include God. I was listening to people. I was working with a certain young lady, and she wanted things to go a certain way. And when you don't have clarity of mind, anything somebody tells you, you do it. I try to seek help from people that I thought would be helpful. Forget it. You go and share an idea, and the person just runs with the idea because they were just concerned about themselves. They were not concerned about the mission and what God said. They were just concerned about what they can get out of you. And you had a bright idea, so they will take the idea, but they won't help you with it. I saw many, all kinds of help from different places. But the problem is we go seeking help from people who did not give us the vision. Can somebody give me a thumbs up on that? Can you tell me that you can relate to what I'm saying? That you go out of your way to go seek help from people who were not present when God gave you the vision. So I was waiting and wanting others to approve this vision that God gave me. And it didn't make sense. So others couldn't approve it because it didn't make sense to them. They kept asking, what are you doing? What are you doing? And for the longest, I really didn't know what I was doing. But eventually the Lord told me, you cannot take me out of something I instituted. Oh my gosh. Like, you can't take me out of Women of Value. I told you to start Women of Value. Can you imagine? It's like your friend telling you, hey, let's go do this. and then you bypass your friend, go do it, and you think that your friend is going to be happy when they see it. No, I told you to do this. Like, people come and ask you, oh, how did you get into this school? How did you? And when you start telling them, they think that you're jealous, and then they hide things from you. Makes no sense. First of all, I've already graduated from there. So there's nothing you're going to do that I can envy. I went before you, remember? Right? Can you relate to that? And so for God was like, no, I told you to do this. You cannot take me out. You cannot take God out of something he instituted. Yes. And what comes to mind is marriage. We try to take God out of marriage. Oh, don't get me started, because y'all know that's my favorite topic. You can't take God out of marriage. You just can't do it, because he instituted marriage. You can't take God out of your relationship, because he instituted relationships. Believe me, you just cannot take God out of our relationships. Let me explain to you how you can't take God out of your relationship. You meet a guy, he's nice, and you tell yourself, I'm going to get to know him. You get to know him and you fall in love with the wrong things. You fall in love with his body. You were never supposed to fall in love with his body, but you fell in love with it. You fell in love with his money. You were never supposed to fall in love with his money, but you fell in love with it. Oh, you love the way he caresses you and whatever. You were never supposed to even get that far, but you got there, right? So now you're over here talking about, I really like him. I love him. And at this point, you're at the point where you need approval. Like, you're not interested whether this is the guy for you. Right now, you're at the point you need approval. Like, I'm in love. Approve this God. Because whether you approve it or not, I'm still going to move forward. Can we all attest to this? Like, can you relate to this? How you see a guy you really like and you're just like, at this point, like, I'm not really asking for your opinion. I'm just telling you, God is the glue to marriage. Without him, it will fall apart. The covenant is 3 people. So when you get married, even in Africa, okay, I will say Africa because I can boldly say that. Because when Africans get married, marriage is never for you and your boo. No, it's for the whole family. Like, make a mistake, don't invite your uncle. Then you'll find out if it's your marriage or the family's marriage. Do a marriage, don't invite your auntie. Then you will know, like, is it yours or is it for your auntie? It's for the family. So you cannot afford to get married and say, it's my marriage, I'm going to Vegas. Yeah. You go to Vegas, they're going to leave you in Vegas. That's it. He picked you up in Vegas, he's going to leave you right there in Vegas. But if the man gets married to you before God, man, and who's the man? If you're lucky, you got like at least 10 family members. He's got to face all these 10 family members and say, I'm leaving you. He's got to tell them, like, I'm leaving your daughter, I'm leaving your sister, I'm leaving. He's got people to face. And so when you think about all the work involved in leaving, you're like, look, we just got to make it work. Because when you go to auntie and say, I'm leaving your niece, auntie is going to be like, why? Explain to me why you're leaving my niece. Explain that to me. You go to uncle, he will say, why? Everybody will say why. Even the auntie that doesn't want the marriage will ask you why. Yo, she doesn't like the marriage, but she will say, why? Explain to me why you're leaving. Because I was using you for all kinds of things. Now you're leaving. You're messing with my shine. Is anybody here? So it's important that you recognize that your standards lead you into places, leads you into the relationships, leads you into the work, the type of work you choose. So I was telling you about finding that wonderful, beautiful Prince Charming. This person is so good to you, and this person is who you feel like you're supposed to be with. But instead of getting to know the person, you were supposed to pray about this person. And I tell people this all the time. Finding out later on that this is not the person, I know is a huge disservice. It's a huge disservice. it's better to pray about the person you meet. Pray about them. Pray about the people you meet. And then you can, if you don't have the green light, you can let go. It's easier to let go than to wait till you're way, like you're neck deep. Now nobody can tell you anything. We talk about falling in love, but the best thing you can do for yourself is to walk in love. Walking in love is a different lifestyle. It's a different thing altogether. It's not blindly following somebody, right? When you walk in love, you're conscious about what is happening around you. You're aware about what is being said. You're mindful about where you're headed. That's walking in love. You got to be conscious when it comes to love, because what will sustain you in the end is not the love per se, which most of the times is lust anyway, right? We can't get it confused. It's lust anyway. We've become more and more nude as the days go by. That's it. We just are nuder than before. It's like, whether we're going to church, whether we're, the body cons and everything is like nude, like everything's body, show yourself. You know what I mean? What is the standard you're portraying yourself as? Because the standard you portray is how you're going to get your spouse. That's it. And sometimes I see even married women who dress very inappropriately. And I look at them, I'm like, yeah, it may seem cool to their husband right now, but at some point you're going to be like, okay, all right, why is she dressed like that? Because she's going to be walking down the street and somebody's going to come and go after that woman and you're going to be upset. You chased her that way because you thought it was cool. But I'm telling you, at some point, there's going to come a time you won't be able to dress like that. When you're pregnant, first of all, please cover yourself. But you can be dressed in all anyhow, right? And I know social media is, like we do it for the gram, so people do all kinds of things, but you got to use wisdom, especially at a carrier's time when you're pregnant. You got to use wisdom. Don't just give things to the world. Everybody come see me. No, it's a gift. God gave you a gift. Know to preserve it and preserve it well. Am I saying hide your pregnancy? No, you can share your pregnancy. That's okay. But don't just remove your clothes and like all those things. And like I said, it's not popular preaching. It's not something that we think is even important to talk about. But as a woman, you have to have that standard for yourself that I have to be appropriate. I have to dress well. I have to be mindful of the message I'm giving the people that I encounter. And as a woman of value, don't let me catch you out there like that. Don't let me catch you out there dressing anyhow, because I'm going to call you on it. That's it. Now, you can respond anyhow you want, but I'm going to call you on it because you have a standard as a woman of value, right? So I'm not going to have you standing there saying, oh, I'm a woman of value. And then the next thing I know, you're wearing a dress and your bra, there's no bra. First of all, I don't know too many people that can't wear bras. Even us that don't really have breasts, like a lot of it. We don't have a lot of it, TMI, but I don't walk around like that with my nipples showing. Like, no. So when you actually have some, please, if you're 34 plus, do not be going around with no bra. 34 plus, you understand? 32, they barely have, they have their chest and their containment, okay? That's okay. But when you hit 34, please, take care of yourself, protect yourself, cover yourself. Nobody wants to walk around looking like nipples. No, it's not attractive. If you walk with that standard, guess what? People are they're gonna come and talk to you based on your standard. So we don't look sexy and attract a man, because that man, listen, if sexy is what attracts the man, listen, you're gonna get tired of sexy. All of us were there. So it's not that important, but let me tell you, when we're talking about salvation, we're talking about come as you are, we're talking about chasing after Jesus. And many of you I talk to is like, I want Jesus, and that's it. But you want Jesus, but the person you're dating doesn't give you Jesus. Can we agree on that? He doesn't give you Jesus vibes. Okay? You know, you're chasing after God, but the person you're with doesn't give you those vibes. That's a clear sign of what's ahead of you. You know, do not look sexy to attract a man. You will get tired. Yes, you will get tired. Because if you had told me I would stop wearing my booty cracking shorts, I would tell you it's a lie. I would tell you the devil is a liar. I'm telling you. And someone can sit back and say, oh, but you know, you did it. So why do you want other people? Listen, I keep saying to y'all, don't keep trying to make your own mistakes. Because, and that's why a lot of youth today are going in circles and making horrible mistakes and wasting their lives and wasting time and delaying. Listen, we have a God who works all things for our good. Just because God can take all of your mess and turn it into beauty and gold doesn't mean you purposely say, oh, let me make my own mistakes. No, that's like intentionally saying, I want to delay life. Because I guarantee you, there is a path that seemeth right to man. But that path cannot be God's path. I can tell you that. There is a perfect will of God. And I explained to you before that as a child, you have a standard for your children. Your children can come and say, Mommy, give me the car, give me the car. Okay, take the car. They take the car, pain. They have an accident. They're not even ready to drive yet because they haven't mastered their cell phone. They haven't learned to control their cell phone and control the driving. Like, it's that simple. And a lot of you get into accidents because their cell phones. It's a fact. Like, I'm not 100 years old. Do you understand? It's because of the cell phone. So because that child hasn't mastered their cell phone, I can't give you my car. I can't mess with that. Because you're going to become a liability to me and you're going to hurt me in the end. Because that's my car, that's my insurance, that's my everything. So there's a way that seemeth right. And you wonder why I emphasize some of the things that I talk about you may not hear elsewhere. I get it. I'm also not doing what everybody else is doing. I have no interest in doing what somebody else is doing. Can you imagine copying a test that is completely test B and I'm test A? That's ludicrous. But that's what social media has positioned us to do. We don't have a standard. So we look at social media. They tell us this is the standard. Everybody do it. You know, everybody's dressing this way. Everybody do it. Everybody's speaking this way. Everybody do it. And we're not going to, I cannot live like that. So I'm not on social media trying to copy somebody's test because trust me, the answers are going to be different than mine. I'm very clear on that. And yours is also different, even from your roommate. So your roommate, you cannot copy your roommate in anything because she's going through a different test than you're going through. So what you can do though, is you can look at your roommate and say, wow, she made decision A, B, C, and it led to this. Okay, I don't want to make that decision. It's that simple. So we don't have to recreate the mistakes. We don't have to. Yes, there'll be stories with the mistakes. There will be stories with the trauma. But God doesn't need deficiency to be able to get you to where you're going. So I want us to get in that mindset that if I am doing something, I'm doing it because that's what I need to do in this moment. Or that's what I need to do for God. Or whatever the case may be. But I'm not going to be doing stuff because everybody else is doing. Because everybody else is on a different course. All right. So if I reach out to you, you're like, I'm a woman of value. I want to be that. And then I reach out to you and you're like, oh, I'm not interested. First of all, you're doing yourself a disservice because it be the people that need women of value the most that always act like they don't need it. You need it the most. I'm telling you, I had encounters this week that I look back and I'm like, wow, like there are people that need you and need your assignment. They need you to respond to that assignment. And like I said, on many occasions, I try to run. I started the organization, but I wasn't in the organization. My mind was somewhere else. Because you know what? You're called to people, and the people you're called to are going to be the people that will break you the most. You're called to people that may be difficult. You're called to people that will betray you. The people you're called to deliver, do you understand what I'm saying? May question you and crucify you. I started with standards, right? And so with your standards, don't live on autoplay. Like, don't live automated. Like, you're not an item. You're not a thing. You know, you're called for so much more. And so look at your standards and live according to your standards. If your standard is not good, and you know when your standards is like messed up, please go and find scripture that aligns with what God is saying about you. Because sometimes we think of ourselves and we think of ourselves the wrong way. And God has a better thought about us than we do. So we want to make sure that we listen to what God is saying about us. And if anybody ever told you you're not enough, anybody ever told you you're not beautiful enough, you're not smart enough, I'm here to dispel what they said. And I'm here to tell you that you are more than enough. And God has an assignment upon your life. And that assignment is worth every bit of effort. It's worth you living according to his standard. It's worth living, because so if you have a purpose to fulfill, and many of you may not even know your purpose, coming to Women of Value helps you to discover your purpose. It helps you to come to the knowledge and understanding of who you are. Okay? Because God has so much for you, but you may not know because of what everybody else has told you. But everybody else could have told you a lie. So believe the report of the Lord and don't believe the report of the world. All right? So whatever assignment you're given, if it includes 2 people, your job is to serve those 2 people as if there are 100,000 people. You have to show up with the same energy, show up and not think that, oh, I'm tired. These people, I was talking to a wonderful woman of Valley today. She said to me, I invited my friends. They're not coming. I'm just so tired of them. And I was like, you what? She said she's tired of inviting people and they don't want to join Women of Value. I said, no, like, you can't get tired already. You just started inviting people. You can't get tired already. No, we can't get tired, because the people that need the organization are the people that are refusing it the most. Why? Because whatever is fighting those people is irritated by what is awaiting them. So we don't get tired. We preach the gospel, whether or not people reject it. You may tell yourself, I shared the word with someone that didn't go to church with me. You sowed a seed. You just sowed a seed. Maybe, Miss Ellie, you sowed the seed, and Lachey, someone comes, you come and you water the seed. Now you have a plant that is blooming, that is blossoming. And the third person, Mariah, will come, not even say anything. Mariah would just come and say, I'm part of this organization and it's really helped me to become outspoken and to be where I am. And that's it. Mariah won't even talk to the person. She would just stand somewhere and she's just talking and sharing her testimony. And the person would just show up and say, you know what? I think I want to be part of this organization. It's that simple. That's it. So we're sowing seeds. That's why it's important which seed you sow. That's why I'm making you aware of your standard. Because in today's world, most people are not reading their scriptures, especially the Christians. It's a fact, it's the truth. They're not reading their scriptures. They all have great intents, most people in church. How do I know this? Because if we're reading our scriptures, then we know what the Bible is saying about us, about God, about our authority. But we're living subpar. We're living below what God intended for us. We're not possessing. We're not in the marketplace. We're not hitting it like the unbelievers are doing it. Why? because we've shied away from what God said. We've shied away from the same strategies that all these rich people are using. These are that's scripture. What they're using to get rich is scripture. They have faith, they believe in themselves, they talk about affirmation and speaking things into being and the secret. It's scripture. So they're thriving and they're successful and they support one another. They cause one another to go forward. But as a body of Christ, we have spent so much time hating each other, fighting unnecessary fights and wasting time. Just wasting time. Like, there's a scripture that talks about when Paul tells the people, like, when it's time for you all to be teaching the Bible. Like, it's time for you to come and do Bible study. You're over here. We have to come back and teach you the elementary principles. The elementary principles of this world, like of this word. So basically, Paul was saying that by now, I shouldn't be talking to you about forgiveness. Like, you've gone to church for 20 years. I should not have to come and teach you about forgiveness. By now, I shouldn't have to come talk to you about lying and cheating and stealing. Like, come on. Like, these are elementary. Elementary is like, we know elementary, right? It's not high school. You should be in high school, going to college, graduating. But by now, you're like over here and I got to come back and teach you this and teach you that. So it's like, Paul was tired of going back to the same people and trying to show them, oh, hey, don't be wearing that thing that makes you look naked. Like, don't wear a bathing suit and think it's clothes and walk down the street. That's not clothes. Don't wear booty cracking short. Don't be wearing this, walking around and think, who are you preaching to? Nobody. You're not preaching to anybody. No, but we call it judgment. No, there's a standard. Because your standard will call someone into the fold. Your standard will invite someone in and say, wow, the way that young lady dresses, there is such a thing. There are still people that admire the way women dress. There are still men out there. Listen, let me tell you something about men. Men are wonderful creatures. I love them. I hope you love men too, okay? They're wonderful creatures, all right? But they know what they want. We think men don't know what they want. Trust me, they're very stable. They're very stable. They know what they're doing too. I just want you to know. Guys don't recognize good girls. No, you didn't give them a reason to recognize you, right? That's the bottom line. You didn't give them a reason to get to know you. Like, you know your worth. You stand by your worth. I don't remember going to Saks Fifth Avenue. Saks Fifth Avenue, I don't remember seeing like sale sign, like sale. Even when it's on sale, they don't put it up. There was another store I really liked, Banana Republic, when I was growing up and when I was in college, like I wasn't 20, like 18, 19 years old. I really liked Banana Republic because their jeans were so nice and their jeans last. Of course, it's part of the Gap Inc., which is Old Navy, Gap. And so Banana Republic is their higher end, right? So I would go to Banana Republic and I never saw like sale or nothing. Like, I wouldn't see that. I'm like, I don't understand that because I want to buy stuff from here, but not from the, not from the hanging, I want it from the sale rack, but it would never go there. Saks Fifth Avenue, same thing. Even when it is on sale, they don't put sale. I never understood that. Maybe things have changed now, but when I was in the store, I was like, is this the price that's on there? Yeah, it's still the same price. So they're like, well, no, it's actually half off. But why did you put the half off? Oh, you did? Years ago? Is it true what I'm saying? Like it's hidden. Like, they don't want to tell you it's on sale. Why? Because they know their value. They don't want you thinking this is Macy's. Like, as much as I loved Macy's, if there's one thing I remember about Macy's growing up, my first credit card, they know their standards. I like that, Shirley. Listen, my first credit card was from Macy's. But the one thing I really remember about Macy's is that Macy's was a spot for sales. Like, I can walk into Macy's and get a whole wardrobe, and it's all from the sale rack. So after a while, I told my husband, when I met my husband, I used to tell him, because If he's walking by anything, a shirt, a dress, if his eyes catches a shirt, the shirt is at least $200. So guess what? I'm not going shopping with this man because our account will be empty. Okay. And by himself, he rarely goes to the store. Do you know what I mean? So that has helped us in our relationship to save money, right? Because everything he catches is quality. That's it. But me though, right? I'm going to buy it at $20. Or I'm going to buy that shoe. So there's standards. Like, I won't buy jeans more than $40. Like, because I'm older now, right? I'm older. Because when I couldn't afford a $300 True Religion jeans, I was wearing them. When I couldn't afford it, I was wearing it. $300 True Religion that I wore like twice. You know, high tops, you know, Nikes that cost $98, you know. And so what did I do? I messed with money. I didn't respect money. I lived it up when I couldn't afford it. So now that I have money to actually buy it, I don't want to buy it. So he calls me cheap and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. But my standard is I need to look good. That's the standard. So I'm going to look good regardless. All right. I hope you guys are liking this topic because I'm just talking at this point. My standard is simple. I'm going to look good. And looking good doesn't have to be expensive, right? But today, because we don't really have a personal standard, we think our standard has to be red bottoms. Our standard has to be Louis Vuitton. Our standard, am I against it? No, they're cute, but I don't want to wear red bottoms. Can we agree on that? I'm not wearing that. Who wants to walk with their feet? No, I'm good. I'm okay. I promise you I'm okay. I have never looked at that shoe and said, I wish I had red bottoms. Never. Because what is it? 1,000? No. No. I don't want to wear it. Why? Because I know my feet. My standards are clear. Comfort. My standards are very clear. Comfort. So we don't change our standards to mix in, to fit in. No. Our standards are supposed to be clear cut. Non-negotiable. Can somebody say that? Put non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. And the word non-negotiable takes me straight to my first book. All right. If you don't have my first book, This Is Who She Is on Amazon. I want to read the first line of this book. Are you guys here? Because I'm not seeing no comments. I see the thumbs up though. I see the laugh, the laughing emojis. But let me read the very first line of my book. All right. It's on page, I don't know if there's a page, but non-negotiable. That's it. It says the value of a woman is non-negotiable. Okay. Yet I meet women daily who bargain their value. I don't even need to open the book because this I haven't memorized. Did you hear that? The value of a woman is non-negotiable. Yet I meet women daily who bargain their value. My gosh. So if you don't have this book, I don't know what you're doing. This book will take you out. I'm serious. You will read this book and you will say, okay, I'm going to have a seat. No, first of all, you need to have a seat to read this book. That's it. I have a woman of value who read the book 4 times. I told her she's read the book more than me. The other book, the new book that I wrote, I read it. I read it, okay? Because that thing is like, it entered my body, you know. But this book, she read it more than I have read it. She said, Minister Ruth, I keep reading the book because like every time I hear your voice in my ear, I go back and I pick up the book. So I told her, she beat me to the chase. You know, she's read this book 4 times and she says, the stuff in this book, it gives you life. It talks about the self-concept, who you are. The self-concept. Like, how did you even come to believe who you are and what you are? You know, family dynamics. Hey, can I tell you about family? Did you know I was the 9th child in the family of 10 children? 9 of 10. Okay. I can tell you everything. Everything about family there is. Trauma. Oh, I know. Miss Ellie, I'm coming in 2 months, God willing. So in 2 months, I'm going to bring a few books. So y'all gather your money together. I'm not donating the books. So, tell your people, we're not donating the Minister Ruth's book. She's selling them. I'm donating book, what do you call it? Shoes and clothes and diapers. And I'm not donating this book. So make sure you tell your folks, get your 100 CDs, 150 CDs, which is very cheap compared to what we're selling in the US. But get it together and then get this book. It will save your life so much. Then trauma, beauty and appearance. You see here, I'm talking about beauty. I'm talking about appearance, how you dress yourself, modesty. And a lot of women don't have simple hygiene. Simple hygiene, like just basic stuff. It doesn't have to be expensive, just basic things. All right? You just finished reading it. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so y'all, you owe me, what is that thing called? A review on Amazon. So if you just read it, make sure you put a review up on Amazon so other people can also read it. That book, I don't even know how the book is selling because this is the first time I've started like even talking and advertising this book. People were just getting it from Amazon. I don't know. It just was showing up and they were buying it. I'm very grateful for that. And we have life's purpose. Many of you have said, I don't know my purpose, Minister Ruth. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And is God asking me, I know there's a call on my life. Do you know how long I walked into this, like, knowing? Like, I know there's a call on my life. But I also felt like I needed like a woman of God. Like I wanted a mentor. But let me tell you, every time I feel like, okay, I found my mentor or I approach a woman of God, the kind of things I went through, guys, the kind of things I went through. I remember going to a church and the woman of God she just couldn't stand me. I said, what did I do? She said I was after her men. Anyway, those kind of things you don't even see on live because it's so foolish. But I was after her men. It's like you're looking for mentors. Mentors that won't compete with you. I need your men, me. No. You yourself, you shouldn't be having a man in the corner anyway. You're fighting over your boyfriend and you're going to lose a soul. Guys, we have walked some paths. I have every reason to sit here and say, church hurt. I'm hurt by church. I'm hurt by... No. It's not about the people. It's about your relationship with God and what he has called you to do and to be. So when you have an organization like Women of Value, where this leader right here, I have no time to compete with nobody. Because listen, the Lord has made it clear that the women that are coming, they're gifted. So they're not coming because they need to come discover. No, they have gifts. Maybe they don't know they have gifts, but they know, like I know there's a gift inside of them. It's an incubation. We're incubating it. We're teaching it. We're grooming them and we're growing them. That's it. And they will tell you, when you meet the women of Valley, they will tell you, oh, I came, I couldn't pray, now I pray. Oh, I came, I couldn't fast, now I fast. Oh, I didn't know how to teach, and now I'm teaching. Because this woman of God, this woman right here, I don't have time to compete with you. I can't. So when you begin to compete with me, you will be uncomfortable. You'll be uncomfortable because, one, I will catch the vibe from a mile away. I sense I have a very strong... I think last week I was telling you guys, I'm like my late mom. This woman will be coming up to the 6th floor. She can smell what's inside the house. The woman can smell and she comes with her mood. Because she can smell from the outside. Oh, how I miss this woman. But she had a very keen sense of smell. Okay. And she gave me that sense of smell. And as well as I can smell, I also can feel. Several times I've known women who were mad at me. They never said nothing. Some didn't even give me attitude. I mean, most times the attitude gives it away. But there's some that are like silent and don't say anything. I'm like, no, you're offended by me. And I will come and tell you, you look like you're offended by me, right? Because I've explained to you that the cutoff culture is also part of the trauma. Don't be cutting people off. I just cut you off. I don't have time for this. The cutoff culture is part of your trauma. So in order for you to be healed, you need to bear. The Bible says forbear with one another. You have to forbear. You have to deal with people, because the places you're supposed to heal is going to come from people. The people will tell you where you need to heal. Anything that frustrates you is where you need your healing. It could also be where God is calling you to come and deal with. And so, I don't know what I was talking about, but I'm saying a whole lot, right? Ain't I saying a whole lot? Anyway, so I was out here looking for mentors, and every mentor had their own agenda. And eventually I just said, forget it. This church thing, I can't do it. Because what's wrong with these women? Low self-esteem, anointed but filled with low self-esteem. No. Issues upon issues. But all of this, the Lord was working on my character. Am I perfect? No. But God, through those experiences, taught me what the standard is. And the standard for women, the standard for women of God, the standard. He taught me the standard. So if I learned nothing, I learned the standard. That because of my behavior, somebody can lose their salvation. Yes, because someone came to be saved, and my attitude, my nasty attitude, can cause that person to leave church because they're not strong enough. So I can't say, oh, you need your own testimony, you need to be strong. No, because the person is not there yet. They want to be strong. They want to get there. They want to become better. I don't want to be the reason why my children don't want God. I don't want to be the reason why my children don't want God. Why my children can't stand church. I don't want to be the reason. So what is it that I'm doing in my home that may cause my child to run away from God? That's the standard. So because of that, I cannot afford to take the bait. Like, no, I can't cuss at my child. Why should I cuss at the child? The child is an adult. It's gonna grow. And they're gonna go all over the world and talk about how their mother was so crazy. So never raise your children like they will never grow. Listen, there's a chapter on motherhood, and I talk about that. I said, don't raise your children like the children will never grow. Speaking of the book, I talk about dating. Listen, you want to read my chapter on dating? I am the most raw person you will meet. Sex, lust, everything. We're going to talk about it in dating. I talk about it. Infidelity. There's something called betrayal trauma. That's infidelity. Things that many women don't know anything about, men don't know anything about. I taught on infidelity. Friendship. Friendship. I talk about friendship. I talk about domestic violence. And I've said this a million times, right? You know that I was a domestic violence advocate. I advocated for women and men who were abused by their boyfriends and by their girlfriends and by their spouse. Personal safety. In this chapter of personal safety, I share an experience I had where a friend of mine tried to assault me sexually. And I talk about, and this book is the perfect book for like a college student, because it's everything you're going to experience in college, basically. And it's funny because people say this book is about, it's not about me. But what happened is I had to share some examples of my life so that you can better understand what it looks like. Your personal safety is your prerogative. Like, it's your responsibility to be safe. We don't leave our safety to our friends. Oh, I went to hang out with my guy friend and he did this to me. Listen, it's your responsibility. I've been there. I've been there, guys. I know. You trust people so much, you never think they will do such a thing to you. They can do that to you. Your personal safety is your responsibility. So I emphasize that in this book. Personal finances and how do you overcome life's challenges. There's so many challenges in life, and if you're not careful, you will throw in the towel and give up. I'm leaving you with, don't bargain your value because you're worth it. Let me steal that from L'Oreal. Because you're worth it. Do not bargain your value. And if you're wondering, how do I bargain my value? Have you been to Mokola markets? Have you been to Ghana trying to buy something? Have you been to the market trying to buy some? You negotiate. Why? How much is that? What do you mean? Granted, we don't negotiate at Nordstrom. We don't negotiate at those places, but we got places that we negotiate. Can I get this for cheaper? Oh, thank you, Shirley. Thank you for always being here and being consistent. Some of you are just joining and we are ending. Please watch the replay. Are you guys wondering how I sit here and talk for an hour and a half? Like, I sit here and I talk for an hour and a half. You know, I don't know if you've heard me talk about this, but my husband, he would get home and he would say, oh yeah, so tell me what happened with so and so. It could be something random. Like, oh, tell me. And he would just ask me because he knows that by the time I'm done talking, he will fall asleep. So I talk him down to sleep, you know, and and in college, I did the same thing for my college friends. You know, they will come to my room or my apartment and they'll be like, oh, Ruth, you know, and then I will talk them to sleep or I will fall asleep while I'm talking. So if you guys haven't realized, I love you that much that I will come and talk you down. Maybe some of you are sleeping. Maybe some of you are just like, no, I just like listening to you. I know. Sometimes I go and listen to myself too. But I hope this is blessing you and you're learning, you know. This is me, you know. I don't take life too serious. I was too serious growing up. Everything was serious. If you knew me, I was very uptight, you know, and one or two things happened in life and I realized that, wow, the joy of the Lord truly is our strength. And so I amassed this strength, so much strength that, you know, one thing you can be sure of is that I don't give up. I have friends who to this day, either they don't talk to me or the ones that have still managed to stick by, you know, they'll send me a message and say, you still going? Yes, I'm still going. Yes. I don't plan on aging anytime soon. I don't plan on, you know, sitting out anytime soon. I'm going to keep riding this life until the wheels fall off. That I'm confident about. And nobody can make me stop. And I pray that no one makes you stop. No one makes you give up on that dream because it's hard. That no one makes you give up because you're not good enough or because you feel like I can't do this. That no one makes you give up because you are able to do exceedingly abundantly above. God is doing it through you. So you are able to manifest that glory. Okay? Have a great night. The Lord bless you.